All right. You're starting.
I'm a little not. So, what questions? Could
Okay. In terms of study skills, I found not studying in your room worked best for me. So like actually getting out and going to a physical place that isn't right next to your bed is really important, because trying to study in your bed is tempting because you can, do anything else. But going to the library, that really worked for me because other people can see your computer screen. So like you kind of feel bad if you procrastinate. So that worked for me, like going to the library.
And finding other people to study with. Because I know I'd be by myself. It's like, oh, let me take a break. Oh, and the break lasts a little longer than you want it to. And even if it's not like people from your class that you're sharing with, just like friends, like, hey, let's go like to the library instead. Or even if it's not the library, just somewhere like you said that's not your room. Even if it's the dorm, the lobby in your dorm, it's somewhere where there's more people and it's not just you, where you're holding yourself accountable.
I think they should always ask questions. If they get confused, don't be shy. Sometimes they just say, let it go, let it go. But I think if you are confused, if you get lost, ask questions. Ask professors will they will give you answers efficiently. So I think it's a good method.
Something that I do is I love to-do lists and I love keeping a planner. So just for time management wise, seeing everything that I need to get done in one day laid out on paper helps me to kind of prioritize and figure out what's most important to get done that day.
Okay. Well, I think the best study skill is to actually study. I think we spend a lot of time talking about how to study or like what you need to study, but then we kind of, at least I, kind of forget to actually go ahead and do it. So study, like you'll figure it out, but at least study.
Personally, I recommend just making sure to study, but right after that course, like the night after, and reviewing those class notes from that day, just because each class you're obviously going to be learning something different, so it builds upon each other and you'll be better prepared when it's actually time to study for the test, or just to be able to actually participate in the next course.
I think from high school you're kind of trained to do your homework and whatnot at nighttime, but in college it's better when you have like a break, say an hour or two break during the day, to get some studying done. Then go grab some lunch and then grab some lunch, eat, and maybe look over flashcards or something while you're in the cafeteria, because if you put everything at nighttime you're going to get stressed and end up studying until 3 o'clock in the morning. So trying to start earlier in the day.
Yeah, and I think building off of that, just like when you pick out your classes for college, figure out what time best works for you. So like if you're better, like you wake up in the morning and like you can get all your stuff done and like go to class and stuff. And I think that would be good just to know, like, I'm a morning person, I can get this done, or if I stay up late at night, I can, schedule my classes for later in the day and still stay up late and do my homework and stuff.
Another difference, waking up at 7 o'clock in high school, you can't say, oh, I did in high school, I can do it in college. No, it's very different. I mean, there's some people who are very much morning people. I guess you can do it, but after freshman year, I vowed never to take an 8 a.m. again. So it's a lot different in college. So if you do something first semester, didn't work for you, don't do it again second semester.
What's the hardest class that you guys have taken?
Business law.
Operations management.
Chemistry.
Audit.
Which one?
Audit.
Oh.
I think it was just like classes that like stuff I've never thought about, because I'm a business student and operations management is like engineering, and I was in there, it was also at 8 a.m. So I was in there like tired, and then sometimes I didn't go to class because I was just tired. But really, with that professor, what I really learned was just going to his office hours, which is kind of interesting because his office hours were at 7 and then the class was at 8, so sometimes that's so bad. Don't do this. But I went to office hours at 7 and then not to class because I already knew. But it was just the way, like, I don't know. But, like, don't take your hardest class at 8 a.m. Like, just don't do that because, no.
I have a question. So what did, especially if you're studying something that there's not a direct correlation to a class in high school, how did you find your major?
I based my major on what I think I wanted to do in life. Also, like, what I'm good at. Like, I wasn't good in geometry, but I was, like, good at algebra, so I picked finance also when I got to calculus, I was like, oh, I got this.
There was an intro course for all the engineering disciplines, so they talked about that, which is what I originally thought I wanted to major in, but then I ended up changing my major, which I would advise, like, if you think you want to major in one thing, but then it's like, okay, this isn't actually for me, or you're like, I'm not enjoying this, like, don't be afraid to change your major, even if it's like last minute, or if you're worried about, like, for me, I'll be here an extra year because of that, but it's like, well, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to pay for that? Don't be afraid of that, because it's better to do it now than to wait later, major in something you don't enjoy and, like, work in that, and then you're not always going to be able to go back to school or, like, have the finances to go back to school.
So going off of things that you enjoy, like, look at your life right now and see what you're super interested in. So for me, I love reading magazines, and I love, like, the way that things are laid out and the advertisements in magazines especially. So that kind of got me interested in graphic design and advertising in school. So kind of take a look at what you enjoy right now and see if that's something that you could do in the future.
Also in the beginning, like freshman year, you're not taking all classes that are for your major, so take a fluff course or take something that's kind of outside of your realm. So maybe a religion class, maybe sociology, a psychology, something that could fit into the curriculum, or just some random class that you want to take and that can get you interested in something else.
Yeah, freshman year is a great time to try and dabble in a little bit of different courses, because the later it gets, the harder it is to change a major and still graduate within 4 years if that's your plan. So it's just like freshman year is just a great time to try different courses.
I can't speak much on like choosing a major, but as far as keeping up with a major, only stay in that if that's what you want to do, because at the end of the day, you're the one taking those classes. If you don't like it, you won't like it, and it wouldn't be worth it.
Just a broad question. What advice would you give to a high school student about college?
Oh, I have one. I think I said this already. Keep something, like, when you get to college, I think it's really important to, like, keep something the same. So, like, I was telling them, like, if your mom made macaroni and cheese every Sunday, like, try to eat something, like, home cooked every Sunday. Or, like, something that's the same. Like, somebody said, like, if you play soccer all through high school, like, join club soccer. It might not be the team, but it's still something the same. So you don't just, like, lose your mind when you get to college and everything is different and you go from, like, this life that you had to, like, a new life. Keep something the same. That way you're kind of grounded and you don't feel like your life is just like you know what you're doing, something you know what you're going to do.
Yeah. I guess to piggyback off that, figure out, like, how you relax. Like, if it's like, okay, I just need to, like, go for a walk, or if it's like, okay, I need to read, or even like just doing some activity, kind of like what you had with the soccer, something that, like, grounds you, just holding on to that, because school can be stressful, and just having that one thing that always pulls you back in is really helpful.
Do you have any advice on time management?
Nobody knows how to do it. Like, I feel like that's what I had to learn. Like, I was like, all these people are so good at keeping planners, and I was like, I'm not good at it. Then I was like, no, they're not. They write it down. They don't do it. So it's like, I mean, take it seriously, but at the same time, like, realize that it's like, it's that serious, but like, everybody's not good at it. So like, don't stress yourself out trying to be like everybody else. Find out what works for you, because I'm not necessarily like a morning person, but when I get going in the afternoon, like, I'm going all day. So it's like she said, learning how you work and like finding that and making that your schedule.
Honestly, you just have to prioritize what you have to do and just do it and be responsible. For me, I work and go to school at the same time, and so I make it work. And so there's those late nights and early mornings, but you just kind of have to just do it. I'm not trying to plagiarize Nike or anything.
Yeah, and it's gonna always be trial and error. So if it's just like one day you think you're just gonna get everything done and then you don't take it back as a failure. Just say, okay, now I know that I have to do this at a certain time, and just kind of just learning from your experiences as you go. Because college is sometimes, it's not going to always be, oh, I'm going to have my good days all the time. No, it's going to be like a series of good and bad days, but the bad days are just going to make the good days more enjoyable.
And if you make yourself a schedule, try not to make it like, or not necessarily, but like a time management schedule. Like, try not to make it like too constricting. Like, okay, I'm going to do this at this hour, I'm going to do this at this hour, because it's not always going to work out that way. But like, I know for me, I'll like say during this block of time that I have free, this is when I'm going to do homework. During this block of time, okay, this is when I'm available to like go to work this week, or this is when I'm going to like just not do anything. I'm going to relax.
How many hours do you think it's practical to work a week in college?
It depends on you. Like for instance, I'm not a morning person, so I usually work in the morning. So like I feel like I have to get up, so I don't schedule class in the morning because then I won't get up. So I schedule like work in the morning. Last semester I think I worked 20 hours. That's a lie. I worked 10 and I did 18 hours. So it just depends on how many classes you take, and then like how many organizations you have, and then when you can fit it in. Like when you're good at working, like if your job is hard, then like maybe you want to slow that down. But if you're just sitting at a desk and you can do your homework, then that's a different thing.
Yeah.
How many hours a semester should you take?
Depends on when you want to graduate.
If you need to take 18 hours, do it. I mean, it is what it is. Like, if you can do that.
But if you just need to take the bare minimum 12 hours, that's okay too.
Yeah, I've done both.
I mean, I stacked up my freshman and sophomore year, and then for the past, including this semester, past 3 semesters, I've been doing 12, 13 hours of coursework and then working 20 hours a week. And that makes it easier also to just get a job because you actually have some experience in your field and you're making connections, but you're still a full-time student and getting your scholarships.
Yeah, you should take a decent amount of hours because for SMU, once you fall below 12 hours, you're no longer a full-time student, so that could affect scholarships and things like that. So dropping classes is a reality, and certain classes will have higher drop rates. So if you don't know for sure whether or not you're going to stay in that class throughout the entire year, it would be good to take 13, 14, 15 hours just to make sure that if you do drop one of your classes, you still are a full-time student.
So people have to pay per hour at most schools, so that's the only difference there is we have more flexibility. But also, okay, quick question. Well, I don't know, this sounds quick to me, but it might not be. So what was the most difficult part about transitioning from high school to college, and then how did you work through that?
Oh, for me, so in college it's different because you're living with like some of the people that are your best friends. So you're constantly surrounded by people that you want to talk to and see and hang out with. And where in high school you go home to your parents or you go home wherever home is. And so it's different being in that social atmosphere 24/7. It's hard to separate like alone time from school time, from work. So really differentiating between when I need to be in my room alone working as opposed to when I can be hanging out with friends or going places. That was the biggest transition for me.
I think learning to get out there and make friendships was probably like the hardest because I didn't go to high school, I was homeschooled, but like in middle school and then like in high school I like also went to other places, but like actually like having to like force friendship, like being really active about it, because like in high school and like middle school it just kind of like happens because you're like always there with each other, but you're like actually going out having to make those connections. Even with like administrators, you kind of go out and like have to meet them, or your teachers, you like have to really extend your hand to them, like really getting to know people and being, you know, very, I don't know the word, but being intentional about it. That's what I mean. Being intentional about having relationships and bonding relationships and keeping relationships, because sometimes you can just fall off.
What do you wish you would have done differently your freshman year that you know now?
Study. Because coming from high school, many of us just didn't study. And you go in with that mentality, and it doesn't work in college. You might want it to, but it doesn't. Someone told me, be scared. Don't be afraid to be scared. That sounds weird, but don't be afraid to be scared to fail. Use that to motivate you. Just study, please.
I have a question. Well, this is sort of similar, but is there anything anything that you did in high school that you felt like made the transition easier? Or like, is there any